Before the story unfolds, make sure to support the channel with a like and subscribe. Every bit of support helps us bring more powerful stories to you.
You think power is money, control, fear. But what if I told you the most dangerous man in the city, a man who made grown men beg, was brought to his knees by something as simple as tears? Not his own, someone else's. This is the story of Adrian Vale, a crime boss who never lost, and Lena Brooks, a maid who thought she was invisible. One midnight. One moment. Everything changed. Stay until the end. Hit that like button. Drop a comment with your city name so I can see how far this story travels. Let's begin. The penthouse was silent. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that pressed against your ribs and reminded you that some spaces were too expensive for warmth. Adrian Vale stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, 52 stories above the city, watching headlights crawl like ants through downtown. His reflection stared back, sharp jaw, dark eyes that had watched men break, a face people cross streets to avoid. He wasn't supposed to be awake. Midnight had come and gone an hour ago, but sleep didn't come easy when your business involved the kind of transactions that left no paper trail and too many loose ends. Then he heard it. A sound so quiet he almost convinced himself it was the building settling. The soft hiccup of someone trying not to cry. Adrian turned. Nothing. Just the sprawling open floor of polished marble, leather furniture positioned with surgical precision, and the faint glow from the kitchen's recessed lighting. He waited. There it was again. Muffled. Broken. His instincts kicked in, the same ones that had kept him alive when lesser men got careless. Someone was in his space. Someone who shouldn't be. He moved without sound, years of calculated silence built into muscle memory, around the sectional, past the bar, toward the hallway that led to the service entrance and kitchen prep area. And that's when he saw her. Lena Brooks sat on the floor with her back against the industrial dishwasher, knees pulled to her chest, face buried in her arms. Her shoulders shook with the effort of staying quiet. She didn't hear him, didn't see him standing there in the shadows, watching her fall apart in a place she thought was private. Adrian should have walked away. That's what made sense. She was the maid, efficient, invisible, someone he barely noticed beyond the fact that his penthouse stayed immaculate and his shirts were always pressed. Her job was to exist in the margins of his life, not to bleed emotion all over his pristine kitchen floor at 1 a.m. But he didn't walk away. Lena! Her head snapped up. The look on her face, raw panic mixed with humiliation, did something strange to his chest. She scrambled to her feet, wiping at her eyes with the heels of her hands, like she could erase what he'd already seen. "Mr. Vale." Her voice cracked. She cleared her throat, tried again. "I'm sorry, I didn't think... I thought you were asleep. I'll go." "Stop." She froze halfway to grabbing her bag from the counter. Adrian stepped into the light. She looked smaller than usual, which didn't make sense because she'd always been small. Maybe 5'4" on a good day, with a frame that suggested she forgot to eat more often than not. She wore the same things she always did when she came to clean. Black pants, a plain gray shirt, hair pulled back in a bun so tight it had to hurt. Her eyes were red, swollen. She'd been crying for a while. "What happened?" he asked. "Nothing. I'm fine." "You're crying on my kitchen floor at 1 a.m. That's not fine." She flinched like he'd slapped her. Her hand tightened on the strap of her bag. "It's personal. It won't happen again. I apologize for... I didn't ask for an apology." His voice came out harder than he meant. He softened it. Barely. "I asked what happened." Lena stared at him like he'd started speaking another language. People didn't ask Adrian Vale questions. They answered them. And they sure as hell didn't expect him to care about the answer. "It's stupid," she whispered. "Let me decide that." She swallowed, looked down, her fingers twisted together, knuckles going white. When she spoke, it was so quiet he had to step closer to hear. "There's this gala for my nursing program. It's the graduation event. Everyone's supposed to bring a date." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just something bitter and broken. "Some of the other students found out I work as a maid to pay for school. They thought it was hilarious, told me I shouldn't bother coming, that I'd just embarrass myself showing up alone. That someone like me doesn't belong there anyway." Adrian said nothing. He watched her face, the way shame colored her cheeks, the way her voice got smaller with every word. They said even if I did show up, no one would dance with me. That I'd just stand there in whatever cheap dress I could afford, pretending I fit in. She wiped at her eyes again, angry now. And the worst part is they're right. I don't fit in. I'm 26 years old, working 3 jobs just to finish a degree. Most of them are getting handed by their parents. I shouldn't have even applied to that program. I should have known better. Known what? That I don't belong in their world. Something cold settled in Adrian's gut. He knew that feeling. The kind of people who looked at you and decided you were beneath them before you even opened your mouth. He'd spent the first half of his life being dismissed by people who thought their money made them better. The second half making sure those people understood exactly how wrong they were. "When is it?" he asked. Lena blinked. "What?" "The gala. When is it?" "Saturday. But I'm not going. I needed a minute to accept that, and I thought if I could just..." She gestured vaguely at the space around them. "I didn't mean to break down here. I'm sorry." "Stop apologizing." She went quiet. Adrian studied her. He'd hired her 8 months ago through an agency. She showed up on time, did her work, never asked questions or lingered longer than necessary. She was competent, reliable, invisible. He'd never looked at her. Not really. But standing here now, seeing the way she held herself like she was trying to take up less space, like even her sadness was an inconvenience, something shifted. "You're going," he said. Lena's eyes widened. What?" "To the gala. You're going." "Mr. Vale, I appreciate the sentiment, but I'll take you." The words landed between them like a grenade. She stared at him, just stared. Her mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. Adrian didn't repeat himself. He waited. "You can't be serious," she finally managed. "Do I look like I make jokes?" "But you don't even... Why would you..." She shook her head, panic creeping into her voice. "You don't have to do that. You don't owe me anything. I'm just the maid. You're a person who got treated like garbage by people who don't matter. And now you're going to walk into that room and show them exactly how wrong they were." "Mr. Vale, Adrian." She blinked. "What?" "If I'm taking you to a gala, you should probably use my first name." Lena looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had. He didn't do charity, didn't get involved in other people's problems. His world was clean, controlled, ruthless. You didn't survive as long as he had by caring about a crying woman in your kitchen. But something about the way she'd apologized for existing made his jaw tighten. And Adrian Vale didn't walk away when something bothered him. He fixed it. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "You don't have to. Just say yes." "Why?" Good question. He didn't have a good answer. Or maybe he did, and he wasn't ready to look at it yet. "Because no one gets to make you feel like you're not worth showing up," he said. "And because I said so." Her throat worked. She looked down at her hands, then back up at him, searching his face for the punchline. There wasn't one. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay? Yes. I'll go. With you. If you're sure." "I don't say things I'm not sure about." She nodded, slow, still disbelieving. Adrian checked his watch. Nearly 2 a.m. "Go home. Get some sleep. I'll handle the rest." Handle what? Everything. Before she could ask what that meant, he walked past her back toward the living room. Conversation over. He heard her gather her things, footsteps hesitant on the marble. The sound of the service door opening, then closing. Silence returned. Adrian stood at the window again, staring out at the city. He pulled out his phone and sent a single text to Marcus, his second-in-command. "I need a favor. Personal." The response came back in seconds. "Name it." Adrian typed quickly, his mind already moving through logistics. "Find me the best dress shop in the city. I need it open tomorrow. Private appointment, and get me a list of every student in the Riverside University nursing program. Graduation gala. I want names." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "You taking someone to a party, boss?" Adrian almost smiled. "Something like that." He pocketed the phone and looked at his reflection in the glass. The same face that had built an empire on fear and precision. The same hands that had ended problems most people couldn't imagine. And now he was taking his maid to a nursing school gala because a group of spoiled brats made her cry. He should have felt ridiculous. He didn't. Lena didn't sleep. She lay in her cramped studio apartment staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over, trying to find the part where it made sense. It didn't. Adrian Vale, the man people whispered about in the kind of bars where cash was king and questions got you hurt, had offered to take her to a gala. Had looked at her like she was a person, not furniture. She rolled onto her side, pulling the thin blanket up to her chin. The radiator clanked and hissed, fighting a losing battle against the early spring cold. This was a mistake. It had to be. Men like Adrian Vale didn't do favors. They didn't care about maids who got their feelings hurt at school. He'd probably wake up tomorrow, realize how insane the whole thing was, and pretend it never happened. That's what made sense. But then she remembered the way he'd looked at her. Not pity, not amusement. Something else. Something steady and certain, like he'd decided something and that made it law. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She reached for it, squinting at the screen. Unknown number. Car will pick you up at 10 a.m. Don't be late. AV. Her heart stuttered. He was serious. The car was a black Mercedes. Sleek, expensive, the kind of vehicle that didn't belong on her street. Lena stood on the curb at 9:58 a.m., clutching her purse, feeling like an imposter. The driver stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her rent. He nodded once. "Miss Brooks? Mr. Vale is waiting." She climbed into the back seat, and the door closed with a solid, final sound. The interior smelled like leather and something faintly woodsy. Clean. Expensive. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, afraid to touch anything. The drive took 20 minutes. They pulled up in front of a boutique she'd walked past 100 times but never dared enter. The kind of place where they didn't put prices in the window because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Adrian was waiting inside. He stood near a rack of evening gowns, talking quietly with a woman in a tailored black dress. When Lena walked in, his eyes found hers immediately. "You're here," he said. Not a question, a confirmation. "You told me not to be late." Smart. The woman, 50s, elegant, assessing Lena with a gaze that missed nothing, smiled. "Ms. Brooks, I presume. I'm Gabrielle. We're going to find you something perfect." Lena glanced at Adrian. He nodded once. She let herself be led into the back, into a private fitting room with champagne on ice and lighting that made everything look softer. "Mr. Vale was very specific," Gabrielle said, pulling dress after dress from a rolling rack. "He wants you to feel powerful, not like you're pretending to be someone else, like you're finally being seen as who you are." Lena's throat tightened. "He said that?" "Not in those words, but I've been doing this long enough to hear what people mean." Gabrielle held up a gown, deep emerald green, elegant but not flashy. "Try this." Lena did, and then another and another. Each one was beautiful. Each one felt wrong. And then Gabrielle brought out the red dress. It wasn't like the others. It didn't whisper. It demanded. A floor-length gown with a neckline that was daring without being desperate, fabric that moved like liquid, a slit that suggested confidence without apology. Lena stared at it. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I'm not." She gestured helplessly at herself. "That's not me." "You haven't tried it yet." Gabrielle helped her into it, zipping it up with practiced efficiency. When Lena turned to face the mirror, she stopped breathing. The woman looking back at her was a stranger. Shoulders straight, eyes bright. The dress didn't make her someone else. It just amplified something that had been there all along, buried under exhaustion and self-doubt. "That's the one," Gabrielle said softly. Lena couldn't speak. A knock on the door. Adrian's voice. "Can I come in?" Gabrielle looked at Lena, eyebrows raised. Lena nodded, not trusting her voice. The door opened. Adrian stepped inside and his expression didn't change. Not exactly, but something flickered in his eyes, brief, unguarded. He looked at her for a long moment. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That's the one." Lena's hands trembled. It's too much. It's exactly enough. Adrian, I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything. I made a decision. You agreed. This is happening. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him this was insane, that she'd never be able to repay him, that she didn't deserve this. But the way he was looking at her, like she was someone worth seeing, made the words die in her throat. Shoes next, Gabrielle said, breaking the moment with professional grace. And we'll need to talk hair and makeup for Saturday. Lena nodded numbly. Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. I need to take this. Finish up here. Marcus will drive you home. He was gone before she could respond. Passé. Saturday arrived faster than Lena wanted and slower than she could stand. She stood in her apartment, staring at the dress hanging on the back of her door. The shoes, black understated heels that somehow cost more than her monthly grocery budget, sat in their box on the bed. Her phone rang. Ms. Brooks, this is Gabrielle. I'm downstairs with the hair and makeup team Mr. Vale arranged. May we come up? Lena's stomach flipped. He did what? He was very thorough. We'll have you ready in 2 hours. Plenty of time. By the time they finished, Lena barely recognized herself. Her hair was down, styled in soft waves that framed her face. The makeup was subtle but transformative. Eyes that looked bigger, lips that looked fuller, skin that glowed. You're lovely, Gabrielle said, stepping back to admire her work. Absolutely lovely. Lena stared at the mirror. The woman staring back looked confident, put together, like she belonged. A text came through. AV, downstairs, ready? No, not even close. Lena, as I'll ever be. She grabbed the small clutch Gabrielle had insisted she needed and made her way down the narrow stairs. The Mercedes was there. Adrian leaned against it, wearing a tuxedo that fit him like it had been built specifically for his body. Probably had been. When he saw her, he went still. She walked toward him, heart hammering, waiting for him to say something. He didn't. He just looked at her like she'd knocked the air out of him. You clean up nice, she tried, voice shaking. Adrian's mouth curved. Barely. So do you. He opened the door. She slid inside, and he followed. The drive to the venue was quiet, not uncomfortable, just heavy with things neither of them knew how to say. You don't have to do this, Lena said finally. If you changed your mind, I didn't. But what if... Lena. He turned to look at her fully. Stop waiting for me to bail. I'm here. I'm going in with you. And anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me. Clear? She nodded. Say it. Clear. Good. The car pulled up to the venue, a historic hotel with marble steps and a valet line full of luxury cars. People in evening wear climbed the stairs, laughing, posing for pictures. Lena's hands went cold. Adrian noticed. He reached over, took one of her hands in his. His palm was warm, steady. Breathe, he said. She did. The door opened. Adrian stepped out first, then turned, offering his hand. Lena took it. She stepped onto the curb, and the world seemed to slow. People noticed. Of course they did. Adrian Vale didn't exactly blend in, and she was wearing a dress that cost more than most people's cars, holding the hand of a man who looked like he owned everything he touched. They walked up the stairs together. At the entrance, a girl from Lena's cohort, Jessica, the ringleader of the group that had mocked her, stood with her date, a guy in an ill-fitting suit who looked bored. Jessica's eyes landed on Lena, widened, traveled to Adrian. Her mouth actually fell open. Adrian didn't even glance at her. He just kept walking, hand resting lightly on the small of Lena's back, guiding her inside like she was the only person in the room who mattered. Lena's heart was a drum in her chest. They entered the ballroom, and every head turned. The room was stunning, chandeliers dripping crystal, tables draped in white linen, a live band playing soft jazz. Her classmates filled the space, mingling in clusters, drinks in hand, and now they were all staring at her. Ignore them, Adrian murmured, so quiet only she could hear. Kind of hard when they're all looking. Let them look. You're worth looking at. Her breath caught. He led her to the bar, ordered her a glass of wine, himself a whiskey neat. The bartender's hand shook slightly when he served Adrian. People recognized him. Of course they did. Lena Brooks? She turned. Dr. Hammond, the program director, stood there looking politely surprised. I almost didn't recognize you. You look wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Hammond's gaze shifted to Adrian, curiosity clear. Dr. Hammond, this is Adrian Vale, Lena said, because what else could she do? Adrian shook the man's hand firmly. Pleasure. Likewise. And what do you do, Mr. Vale? Business. What kind? Adrian's smile didn't reach his eyes. The private kind. Dr. Hammond laughed nervously. Right. Well, lovely to see you, Lena. Enjoy the evening. He retreated. Lena exhaled. That was predictable, Adrian finished. He sipped his drink. People always want to know what box to put you in. Makes them feel safe. And you don't let them. Never have. A slow song started. Couples drifted toward the dance floor. Adrian set down his glass and offered his hand. Dance with me. It wasn't a question. Lena set down her wine and placed her hand in his. He led her onto the floor, pulled her close, one hand at her waist, the other holding hers. She rested her free hand on his shoulder, and they moved. She wasn't a good dancer, never had been. But Adrian made it easy, guiding her with subtle pressure, keeping her steady. Everyone's still staring, she whispered. Good. Adrian, you wanted them to see you, right? To prove you belong? They're seeing you. Let them. She looked up at him. His face was unreadable in the low light, all sharp angles and controlled power, but his hand at her waist was gentle. Why are you really doing this? She asked. He was quiet for a long moment. They swayed together, the music wrapping around them. You cried in my kitchen, he said finally. You apologized for it, like your pain was an inconvenience, like you didn't matter. I'm just... Don't. His grip tightened, barely. Don't say you're just anything. You work 3 jobs to put yourself through school. You show up, you try, and a bunch of entitled brats made you feel small for it. His jaw tightened. I don't like it when people get treated like they're disposable. You barely know me. I know enough. The song shifted, softened. He pulled her closer, and she let him. Thank you, she said quietly. For this, for all of it. You already said that. I'll probably say it again. The corner of his mouth lifted. You don't owe me gratitude, Lena. You owe yourself the chance to stop apologizing for existing. Her eyes stung. They danced in silence until the song ended, and then a voice cut through the moment. Lena? She turned. Jessica stood there, 2 of her friends flanking her like backup. Her smile was sharp, brittle. I almost didn't believe it when I saw you walk in, Jessica said. You look different. Thank you, Lena said carefully. Jessica's eyes flicked to Adrian, lingered. And you brought a date. How sweet. Jessica, one of her friends whispered. A warning, but Jessica ignored it. I just think it's funny, you know? You were so upset about not having anyone to bring, and then suddenly you show up with... She gestured vaguely at Adrian. I mean, who even is he? Did you hire him or something? The room went cold. Adrian's expression didn't change, but something in the air shifted. Dangerous. Jessica, right? He said, voice smooth as glass. She blinked. Yes? Adrian Vale. He extended his hand. She took it automatically. Her face went pale when she registered the name. I don't hire out for dates, Adrian continued, releasing her hand. But I appreciate the concern. Lena's here with me because I asked her, because she's someone worth knowing. Can you say the same about the people you're here with? Jessica's mouth opened, closed. Her friends shifted uncomfortably. Didn't think so, Adrian said. He turned back to Lena. We done here? Lena nodded, pulse racing. They walked away. Jessica didn't follow. Lena's hands were shaking. Adrian guided her to a quiet corner away from the crowd. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, I did. She's going to tell everyone who you are. Good. Let her. Lena laughed. It came out shaky, half disbelief. You're insane. Maybe. He looked down at her, something unreadable in his eyes. You okay? Yeah, I think so. Want to leave? She considered. The gala was still going. Music, laughter, the hum of conversation. She could stay, prove she belonged. But the truth was, she didn't care anymore. She'd already won. Yeah, she said, let's go. They left together, and this time, no one dared say a word. Tout bien. The car ride back was quieter, comfortable. Lena leaned against the window, watching the city blur past. I can't believe you did that, she said. Which part? All of it, the dress, the car, showing up, shutting down Jessica like it was nothing. Adrian shrugged. She had it coming, Lena smiled. Still, thank you, I mean it. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. He looked at her then, really looked. You don't have to thank me for treating you like a person, Lena. That's baseline. Maybe. But not everyone sees it that way. Then they're idiots. She laughed, soft, genuine. The car pulled up in front of her building. Adrian walked her to the door. They stood there, the streetlight casting long shadows, the night air cool and quiet. I guess this is it, Lena said. For tonight. She looked up at him. What does that mean? Adrian hesitated, just for a second. Then he stepped closer. It means I'm not done, he said quietly. Her breath hitched. Done with what? Figuring out why you matter. And before she could ask what he meant, before she could overthink it, he leaned down and kissed her. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was certain. Like he'd decided something and this was the proof. Lena froze, then melted into it, her hands finding his chest, his arms pulling her closer. When he pulled back, her heart was a riot. Go inside, he said, voice rough. Before I change my mind about being a gentleman. Lena nodded, dazed. She stepped back, fumbling for her keys. Lena. She turned. This isn't charity, he said. Just so we're clear. She didn't know what to say, so she just smiled and went inside. And Adrian Vale stood on the sidewalk watching her go, wondering what the hell he'd just started. Lena didn't sleep that night either. She sat on her bed still wearing the red dress, staring at the wall, replaying the kiss over and over until it stopped feeling real and started feeling like something she'd imagined. Except she could still feel it. The pressure of his mouth on hers, the way his hand had curved around her waist like he was anchoring her to the earth. The rough edge in his voice when he'd told her to go inside. Her phone sat next to her, silent. She picked it up, put it down, picked it up again. What was she supposed to do now? Text him? Thank him again? Pretend it didn't happen? She groaned and flopped backward onto the mattress. This was Adrian Vale, the man people crossed the street to avoid, the man whose name got mentioned in the kind of news stories that ended with no arrests were made, and everyone knew why. And he'd kissed her. Her, Lena Brooks, the girl who couldn't afford textbooks without working overtime and bought her groceries based on what was on sale. It didn't make sense. Nothing about the last 24 hours made sense. She finally peeled herself out of the dress at 3 a.m., hung it carefully in her closet like it might disappear if she wasn't gentle enough, and crawled into bed. When she closed her eyes, she saw him standing in her kitchen 4 nights ago, watching her cry, looking at her like she mattered. She fell asleep sometime before dawn and woke up to her alarm screaming at 7. Sunday, which meant her shift at the diner started in an hour, followed by an evening stint stocking shelves at the drugstore on 5th. Normal life. The kind that didn't include $1,000 dresses or men who kissed like they were staking a claim. She showered, pulled her hair into a ponytail, and tried not to think about the fact that in less than 12 hours, everything had changed, and nothing had changed at all. The diner was busy. It always was on Sundays. Families after church, couples nursing hangovers, regulars who'd been coming in since before Lena was born. She moved through the rush on autopilot. Coffee, eggs, toast, smile, repeat. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket during her break. She pulled it out. AV, you working today? Her heart did something stupid. Lena, yeah, diner until 2, then drugstore until close. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. A V, you need to work 3 jobs? She frowned at the screen. Lena, need to eat. Need to pay rent. Need to finish school. So, yeah. A V, what if you didn't? Lena, didn't what? A V, need to work 3 jobs. She stared at the message. Read it again. A 3rd time. Lena, I don't understand. AV, come by the penthouse tonight after your shift. We'll talk. Lena. Adrian, I can't just... AV, you can. You will. See you at 10. The conversation ended. Lena stood in the break room holding her phone, equal parts annoyed and terrified. You okay, honey? She looked up. Rita, the head waitress, stood in the doorway with a cigarette behind her ear and concern in her eyes. Yeah, fine, just a thing. A man thing? Lena's face went hot. How did you got that look? Same one I had when my second husband started getting ideas. Rita snorted. He better be worth the trouble. I don't even know what this is. Then I guess you better find out. Rita tapped the cigarette pack in her pocket. But if he's bad news, you tell me. I know people. Lena almost laughed. I think he knows more people than you do. That bad, huh? I don't know yet. Rita studied her for a long moment, then shrugged. Your call, kid. Just don't lose yourself trying to figure him out. The words stuck with Lena through the rest of her shift. By the time she clocked out at the drugstore, her feet ached and her brain was buzzing. She took the subway to Adrian's building, rode the elevator up, and stood outside the penthouse door for a full minute before knocking. He answered immediately, like he'd been waiting. You're late, he said. It's 10:02. Still late, but he stepped aside, letting her in. The penthouse looked the same. Immaculate, cold, expensive. She'd cleaned it 100 times, but walking in as a guest felt different. Wrong, somehow. Adrian gestured toward the couch. Sit. I'm fine standing. Lena. She sat. He poured 2 glasses of water from the bar, brought one to her, and settled into the chair across from the couch. Not next to her. Across. Like he was giving her space. You said we'd talk, Lena said, because the silence was making her nervous. I did. So, talk. Adrian leaned back, eyes steady on hers. How much do you make, all 3 jobs combined? She bristled. That's personal. Humor me. Why does it matter? Because I'm trying to understand what it costs you to survive. The bluntness of it hit her sideways. She set the water glass down on the coffee table, hands twisting in her lap. About $1,800 a month, she said quietly. After taxes, rent's $900. Utilities, groceries, transit, books. It doesn't leave much. And tuition? Loans. Lots of loans. I'll be paying them off until I'm 50. Adrian's jaw tightened. You're killing yourself. I'm getting by. There's a difference between surviving and living, Lena. Yeah, well, not all of us get to choose. You could. She laughed. It came out bitter. Right. Let me just snap my fingers and fix my entire life. I'm serious. So am I. What do you want me to do, Adrian? Quit my jobs and hope the universe provides? I don't have a safety net. I don't have family money or connections. I have me. And if I stop working, I lose everything. Not if I help. The room went still. Lena stared at him. What? Let me help. Pay off your tuition. Cover your rent. You finish school without breaking yourself in half. Her stomach dropped. You can't be serious. I am. Why would you? She stood up, pacing now. You don't even know me. We've had, 3 actual conversations? And now you want to just pay for my life? Yes. That's insane. Is it? Yes. She spun to face him. People don't just do that. Not without expecting something in return. Adrian stood too, closing the distance between them in 2 strides. He didn't touch her, just looked down at her with that unreadable expression she was starting to hate. What do you think I want? He asked. I don't know. That's the problem. Then let me be clear. His voice dropped. I don't want you to owe me. I don't want you in my bed because you think you have to be. I want you to finish school, to stop running yourself into the ground, to have the chance to breathe. But why? Because I kissed you last night, and I don't regret it. Because I'm not done. And because watching you apologize for existing pisses me off. Her breath caught. Adrian, I'm not a good man, Lena. I've done things you don't want to know about. But I take care of what's mine. And whether you're ready to hear it or not, you're starting to feel like mine. The confession hung between them, raw and dangerous. Lena's heart hammered. You don't own me. I didn't say I did. I said you feel like mine. There's a difference. I don't understand you. You don't have to. Not yet. She shook her head, stepping back. I can't let you pay for my life. It's too much. It's what? Too generous? Too complicated? He moved closer again. Or are you just scared? Of course I'm scared. She gestured helplessly at him. You. And you're you. A woman who works 3 jobs to chase a dream most people would have given up on, who walked into a room full of people who hated her and didn't flinch, who kissed me back like it meant something. It did mean something. Then let me do this. I don't want to be your charity case. You're not. You're someone I'm choosing to invest in. That's the same thing. No, Adrian said quietly. It's not. Charity is pity. This is choice. I'm choosing you. Let me. Lena's eyes stung. She looked away, blinking hard. What if it doesn't work? She whispered. What if I finish school and get a job and you realize I'm not whatever you think I am? Then we deal with it. But that's not today's problem. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him this was too fast, too much, too everything. But the truth was, she was tired. So tired. And the idea of not waking up at dawn to sling coffee, not spending her evenings stocking shelves, not calculating every dollar like her life depended on it, because it did, was so tempting it hurt. I don't know how to let someone help me, she admitted. Start small. Say yes. She looked up at him. His face was serious, patient. Okay, she said. Yes, but I pay you back. Someday. When I can. Adrian's mouth curved. If it makes you feel better. It does. Then fine. We'll call it a loan. They both knew it wasn't, but Lena needed the fiction, and Adrian was smart enough to let her have it. He moved to the bar, pulled out his phone, and typed something quickly. I'm having Marcus set up an account for you tomorrow. It'll cover rent, tuition, and living expenses. You keep working at the penthouse if you want, but the diner and the drugstore, you're done. Adrian, done, Lena. I'm not negotiating on this. She should have been angry, should have told him he couldn't just make decisions for her, but all she felt was relief. Thank you, she said quietly. Stop thanking me. Make me. His eyes darkened. He crossed the room in 2 steps, cupped her face in his hands, and kissed her. This time it was slower, deeper, like he was memorizing the taste of her. Lena's hands found his chest, fisting in his shirt. Her brain screamed that this was a bad idea, that she was in too deep, that she didn't know what she was doing. She ignored it. Adrian pulled back just enough to rest his forehead against hers. Stay tonight. Her pulse spiked. What? Not like that. Just stay. It's late. You're exhausted. Take the guest room. I should go home. You don't have to. She hesitated. Every rational part of her said to leave. To put distance between them before this became something she couldn't walk away from. But she didn't want to walk away. Okay, she whispered. Adrian smiled. Actually smiled. It transformed his face, softened the hard edges. He led her down the hall to a guest room that was bigger than her entire apartment. King-size bed, attached bathroom, windows overlooking the city. There's clothes in the closet if you need them, he said. Help yourself. Whose clothes? No one's. I keep guest stuff. She nodded, suddenly awkward. Adrian lingered in the doorway. Get some sleep, Lena. You too. He left, pulling the door closed behind him. Lena stood in the middle of the room alone, trying to process everything that had just happened. She'd said yes, to the money, to staying, to whatever this was. She should have felt trapped, obligated, owned. Instead, she felt lighter than she had in years. She showered in the marble bathroom, found an oversized t-shirt in the closet, and climbed into the softest bed she'd ever touched. Sleep came fast, and for the first time in months, she didn't dream about drowning. Lena woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. She sat up, disoriented. The guest room. Adrian's penthouse. Right. She found her clothes from last night folded on a chair. When had that happened? And dressed quickly, padding out into the main living space barefoot. Adrian stood in the kitchen, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. He was wearing dark jeans and a black t-shirt, hair slightly damp like he'd showered recently. He looked normal. Almost. Morning, he said without turning around. How did you know I was awake? Heard you moving. He slid a mug across the counter toward her. She took it, wrapping her hands around the warmth. You folded my clothes. Didn't want them wrinkled. That's domestic. He shrugged. Don't read into it. But she was. She absolutely was. They drank coffee in silence. Not uncomfortable, just quiet. I have a meeting at 11, Adrian said eventually. Marcus will drive you wherever you need to go. I can take the subway. You could, but you won't. Lena sighed. You're bossy. You're stubborn. Pot, kettle. His mouth twitched. Fair. She finished her coffee, rinsed the mug, and turned to face him. What happens now? What do you want to happen? I don't know. I've never done whatever this is. Neither have I. She blinked. Seriously? I don't do relationships, Lena. I don't do complications. But here we are. So what does that mean? Adrian set down his mug, expression going serious. It means we figure it out as we go. No promises, no expectations, just honesty. I can do honesty. Good. Then be honest. Are you okay with this? With me? Lena thought about it. Really thought about it. I'm terrified, she admitted. You're this whole other world I don't understand. And part of me keeps waiting for the other shoe to drop. It might. That's not reassuring. I'm not going to lie to you. My life is complicated, dangerous sometimes. People who know me know to keep their distance. If you're with me, that's going to touch you too. Is that a warning? It's the truth. She studied his face, the hard lines, the controlled power, the man who'd shut down Jessica with a few words and kissed her like she was the only thing that mattered. I'm still here, she said. For now. Is that what you think? That I'll run? Most people do? I'm not most people. Adrian's eyes searched hers, looking for the lie. He didn't find one. No, he said quietly. You're not. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and winced. What? Adrian asked. My nursing program advisor wants to meet this week about my clinical placement. That a problem? No, just timing. I've been putting it off because I didn't know if I could afford to take the unpaid hours. But now... She stopped. Now you can. Yeah, he nodded. Then go. Do what you need to do. I'll be here. The certainty in his voice steadied something in her chest. She gathered her things, let Marcus drive her home, and spent the rest of Monday in a daze. By Tuesday, the money was in her account. She stared at the balance on her phone screen, then checked it again to make sure it was real. It was. She called the diner. Quit. Rita wasn't surprised. Good for you, kid, she said. Don't be a stranger. Lena promised she wouldn't be. The drugstore was harder. She'd worked there for 3 years. The manager, Paul, had given her a job when no one else would. You sure about this? He asked when she gave notice. Yeah, I think so. This got anything to do with that guy you mentioned? Lena hesitated. Maybe. Paul sighed. Just be careful. Guys who swoop in and fix everything usually want something. I know. Do you? She didn't answer. By Wednesday, she was down to one job, cleaning Adrian's penthouse twice a week. Except now it felt different, less like work, more like an excuse to see him. He was gone when she arrived for her usual shift, a note on the counter. Took care of some things. Make yourself at home. AV she cleaned anyway, because she needed to do something with her hands, needed to feel useful. When Adrian came back that evening, she was sitting on the couch reading a textbook. He stopped in the doorway, taking in the scene. You didn't have to clean. I wanted to. Lena, I know I don't owe you, but it makes me feel better. Let me have this. He didn't argue, just shrugged off his jacket, poured himself a drink, and sat down next to her. What are you reading? He asked. Pharmacology. It's brutal. Need help? She laughed. You know pharmacology? No, but I can quiz you. So she let him, and it was strange and easy and normal in a way that shouldn't have worked but did. They fell into a rhythm. She came to the penthouse 3 times a week. Sometimes she cleaned. Sometimes she just studied while he worked. They ate dinner together. Talked about nothing and everything. He didn't push, didn't ask for more than she was ready to give. But the tension built anyway. It was in the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention, the way his hand lingered on her lower back when he guided her through a door, the way the air went electric when they were alone. Friday night, she cracked. They were sitting on the couch after dinner, some documentary playing on the TV that neither of them were watching. Lena had her feet tucked under her, textbook abandoned on the coffee table. Adrian's arm was stretched along the back of the couch, not quite touching her, but close enough to feel. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Always." "Why me?" He didn't pretend not to understand. "You want the real answer or the easy one?" "Real." Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "I've spent my whole life taking what I want, building empires, breaking people who got in my way. I'm good at it, too good. And somewhere along the line, I forgot what it felt like to care about someone who wasn't an asset or a liability." He turned to look at her. "Then you cried in my kitchen, and I couldn't walk away. I still don't know why, but I'm not fighting it anymore." Lena's heart lodged in her throat. "I'm not special, Adrian. You are to me." She didn't know what to say to that, so she kissed him instead. This time, neither of them pulled away. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head back. Her hands found his chest, then his shoulders, pulling him closer. The kiss turned desperate, hungry. Adrian broke away just long enough to ask, "You sure?" "Yes." "Say it again." "I'm sure." He stood pulling her with him and led her down the hall, not to the guest room, to his. And Lena stopped thinking altogether. Afterward, she lay in his bed, sheet pulled to her chest, watching him stand at the window. The city glittered below them. He was silhouetted against it, all sharp edges and controlled power even now. "You're thinking too loud," he said without turning around. "How do you know I'm thinking?" "I can feel it." She sat up, holding the sheet in place. "Aren't you supposed to be, I don't know, saying something?" "Like what?" "I don't know. That's the problem." Adrian turned. His expression was unreadable. "You want me to tell you this meant something?" "Did it?" "What do you think?" "I think you're impossible." He crossed the room, sat on the edge of the bed, and pulled her into his lap. She went, curling against his chest. "It meant something," he said quietly. "It means something. Don't doubt that." "Okay." "Okay." "Yeah, okay." They stayed like that until her breathing evened out and she fell asleep in his arms. Adrian carried her back to the bed, tucked her in, and stood watching her for a long time. He'd meant what he said. She was starting to feel like his, and that should have terrified him. It didn't. He pulled out his phone, sent a message to Marcus. "I need background on everyone in Lena's nursing cohort, especially the ones who gave her trouble. I want names, addresses, social media, everything." The response came fast. "You sure about this, boss?" "Yeah, I'm sure." Because Adrian Vale didn't forgive people who hurt what was his. And Lena Brooks was his now, whether she fully understood that yet or not. Lena woke up alone. The space beside her was cold, sheets pulled tight like Adrian had been gone for hours. She sat up, squinting against the morning light flooding through windows she hadn't bothered to close last night. Last night. Her face went hot. She pressed her palms against her cheeks, trying to will away the blush that wouldn't quit. She'd slept with Adrian Vale, in his bed. And it had been... She cut off the thought before it could finish. No point spiraling. What was done was done. Except now she had to face him. She found her clothes scattered across his bedroom floor, dressed quickly, and ventured out into the penthouse. Empty. Just a note on the kitchen counter next to a fresh pot of coffee. Had to handle something. Back tonight. Make yourself comfortable. AV. Make herself comfortable. In his penthouse, after spending the night in his bed. Right. Simple. She poured coffee, hands shaking slightly, and stood at the window overlooking the city. 52 stories up, the world looked manageable. Contained. Like all the messy parts happened somewhere down there. Out of sight. Her phone buzzed. A text from her advisor. Clinical placement confirmed. St. Catherine's Hospital. Starts Monday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 4 days a week for the next 8 weeks. Her stomach flipped. This was it. the final piece before graduation. If she survived the clinical rotation, she'd have her RN license, a real job. A future that didn't involve scrubbing floors or slinging hash. She should have been terrified. Instead, all she felt was relief, because for the first time, she didn't have to choose between school and survival. Adrian had given her that. The thought settled uncomfortably in her chest. She texted back a confirmation, then pulled up Adrian's contact. Lena. Got my clinical placement, starts Monday. 3 dots appeared immediately. A V. Good, you'll be great at it. Lena. You don't know that. A V. I know you. Same thing. Her throat tightened. She typed, deleted, typed again. Lena. Thank you for everything. A V. Stop thanking me. Lena. Make me. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared 3 times before his response came through. AV. Tonight. I will. Heat crawled up her neck. She set the phone down before she could say something stupid. The rest of the day blurred. She went back to her apartment, showered, changed, tried to study. The pharmacology textbook sat open on her lap while her brain replayed the way Adrian had looked at her in the dark, the way his hands had mapped every inch of her skin like he was memorizing her. By the time evening rolled around, she'd given up pretending to focus. She grabbed her keys and headed back to the penthouse, heart hammering the entire elevator ride up. Adrian answered the door before she could knock. You're early, he said. You said tonight. It's tonight. His mouth curved. Come here. She stepped inside and he pulled her against him, kissing her before the door even closed. No hesitation, no pretense. Just want. When he finally pulled back, her knees were weak. Hi, she managed. Hi. You're in a good mood. I handled something today. Put me in a better headspace. She tilted her head. What kind of something? The kind you don't need to worry about. Adrian. Lena. He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. Some parts of my life are ugly. I'm not dragging you into them. What if I want to be dragged? You don't. You don't get to decide that. His jaw tightened. Yes, I do, especially when it comes to keeping you safe. From what? From me. From the people who'd use you to get to me. From everything that comes with being in my world. She pulled back, frustration bubbling up. So what? I'm just supposed to exist in this bubble where I don't ask questions and you handle everything? Yes. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Lena. But I can control this part, and I will. You're being a hypocrite. How? You told me you wanted honesty, but you won't be honest with me about what you actually do. Adrian's expression went flat. Dangerous. You want honesty? Fine. I run an organization that operates outside the law. I move money, product, information. People come to me when they need problems solved quietly. Sometimes those problems are financial. Sometimes they're human. I don't ask questions. I deliver results. And people pay extremely well for that service. Lena's pulse spiked. She'd known, on some level. Known he wasn't legitimate, but hearing it laid out so bluntly made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you asked. And because if we're doing this, you need to understand who I am, what I am. And what are you? A criminal. A very good one. But still a criminal. She should have been scared. Should have walked out right then. She didn't. Okay, she said. Adrian blinked. Okay? Yeah. Okay, I'm not naive, Adrian. I knew you weren't running a hedge fund. I just needed to hear you say it. And now that I have? Now I know, and I'm still here. He stared at her like she'd grown a second head. You're insane. Probably. But so are you, and you're still here too. A beat of silence. Then Adrian laughed. Actually laughed. It was rough, disbelieving, but genuine. You're going to be the death of me, he said. I hope not. I'm starting to like you. Starting to? She grinned. Don't let it go to your head. He kissed her again, slower this time. When he pulled back, his expression had shifted, serious. There are rules if we're doing this, he said. What kind of rules? You don't ask about my business. You don't dig. If I tell you something, you keep it to yourself. And if I ever tell you to walk away, you do it. No questions. That's a lot of rules. They're not negotiable. Lena thought about it. The smart thing would be to say no, to recognize this for what it was, a relationship built on secrets and power imbalances and things that could get her hurt. But smart hadn't gotten her very far. And standing here with Adrian feeling seen in a way she'd never been before felt more right than anything ever had. Fine, she said, but I have rules too. Yeah? You don't lie to me, even if you think it's for my own good. If you can't tell me something, you say so, but you don't make up stories to keep me comfortable. Deal. And you don't make decisions about my life without talking to me first. The money thing, that was a one-time exception. But from here on out, we discuss things. Together. Adrian's eyes narrowed. You're bossy. I learned from the best. He snorted. Fair. Anything else? Yeah. If this goes bad, if we crash and burn, you don't get to punish me for it. I walk away clean. Something flickered in his expression. You planning on walking away? No, but I need to know I can if I have to. He was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. Okay, you can walk. I won't stop you. Promise? I promise. It should have reassured her. Instead, it made her chest ache. They ate dinner on the couch, some takeout Adrian had ordered from a place Lena couldn't pronounce. She told him about her clinical placement, about the rotations she'd be doing, about how terrified she was of screwing up. You won't, Adrian said. You keep saying that. Because it's true. You're smart. You work hard. You care. That's more than most people bring to the table. What if I freeze? What if someone's dying and I just blank? Then you unfreeze and figure it out. That's what you do, Lena. You figure things out. She wanted to believe him, wanted to borrow some of that unshakable certainty. What about you? She asked. What happens with your business while I'm doing clinicals? Same thing that always happens. I handle it. You ever take a day off? Not really. That sounds exhausting. It's what I know. She studied him. The hard lines of his face, the tension he carried in his shoulders even when he was supposed to be relaxed. You ever think about doing something else? She asked. Like what? I don't know. Something legal? Adrian laughed. You want me to get a desk job? Would that be so bad? For me? Yeah. I'm not built for playing by other people's rules. But what if it go... Lena. He set down his food, turning to face her fully. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'm not changing. This is who I am. If that's a problem, tell me now. She bit her lip. It's not a problem. I just worry. About what? About you getting hurt, or arrested, or... I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm still here. That doesn't mean you always will be. No, it doesn't. But I'm careful, and I'm very good at what I do. Adrian, he leaned in, cutting her off with a kiss. When he pulled back, his eyes were serious. I know you're scared, he said quietly. I would be too if I were you, but I need you to trust that I know how to survive, and I need you to let me protect you without fighting me every step of the way. I'm not good at letting people protect me. I noticed, but you're going to have to learn. She sighed. You're impossible. So you keep saying. They finished dinner, cleaned up together, and ended up back on the couch. Adrian pulled her against him, her back to his chest, his arms wrapped around her waist. It felt safe. Too safe. Tell me something true, Lena said. Like what? Anything. Something you've never told anyone else. Adrian was quiet for so long she thought he wasn't going to answer. Then he spoke, voice low. I was 17 when I killed someone for the first time. Lena went still. His name was Carter. Worked for a guy who ran the docks. I was moving product for them, trying to make enough to eat, and Carter decided I was skimming. I wasn't, but he didn't care. He cornered me in an alley, pulled a knife, told me he was going to make an example out of me. Adrian's grip on her tightened slightly. I didn't plan it, didn't even think, just reacted, got the knife away from him and didn't stop until he stopped moving. Afterward, I stood there covered in his blood, waiting to feel something, guilt, fear, anything. Did you? Lena asked quietly. No. I felt relief, because he was dead and I wasn't. And that's when I knew I was wired different. Lena's heart ached. She turned in his arms, looking up at him. His face was blank, controlled. "You were a kid," she said. "A kid trying to survive. I was a killer. You were both." He looked at her like he didn't understand. "You're not a monster, Adrian. You're just someone who learned to do monstrous things to stay alive. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yeah, there is." He cupped her face, thumb brushing her jaw. "You shouldn't be here." "Probably not. You should run." "I know. But you're not going to." "No, I'm not." He kissed her then, hard, desperate, like he was trying to prove a point or maybe disprove one. Lena kissed him back just as hard. They didn't make it to the bedroom. Monday came too fast. Lena stood outside St. Catherine's Hospital at 5:45 a.m., clutching her bag and trying not to throw up from nerves. Adrian had driven her, insisted on it actually, even though she told him she could take the subway. "You're not taking the subway at 5 in the morning," he'd said. "People do it every day." "You're not people. You're you, and I'm driving you." So he had. Pulled up to the entrance, walked her to the doors. "You've got this," he said. "You don't know that." "I do. Now go, before you're late." She kissed him quickly and headed inside. The clinical rotation was brutal. 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week, rotating through different departments. Lena started in med-surg, where she learned very quickly that nothing in her textbooks had prepared her for the reality of actual patients. People were messy, scared, angry, in pain, and they didn't care that she was new or nervous or trying her best. By the end of the first week, she was exhausted. Her feet ached, her brain hurt. She'd been yelled at by a patient, snapped at by a doctor, and nearly passed out during a particularly gruesome wound dressing change. But she'd also helped save someone's life. A woman in her 60s who'd coded during Lena's shift. Lena had been the one to notice the heart monitor going haywire, the one who'd called for help, the one who'd started compressions while the code team rushed in. The woman had lived. And Lena had realized, standing there with her hands still shaking, that maybe she could do this after all. Adrian picked her up every shift, waiting in the parking lot, engine running, ready to take her home. Except home had stopped being her apartment. Most nights she ended up at the penthouse. It was closer, easier. And if she was being honest, she didn't want to be alone. "How was it?" Adrian asked on Friday night, pulling into traffic. "Hard, exhausting, terrifying. But good, I think." He glanced at her. "You're smiling." "Am I?" "Yeah, you are." She touched her face. She was. "I helped someone today," she said. "Like, really helped. This guy came in with chest pain, and I caught something the attending almost missed. A murmur. Turned out he had a valve issue. If we hadn't caught it, you caught it." "Yeah, I did." Adrian reached over, squeezed her hand. "Told you." "Told me what?" "That you'd be great at this." Her throat tightened. "Thanks." "For what?" "For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's what I'm here for." They drove in comfortable silence. Lena leaned her head against the window, watching the city blur past. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Always." "Do you ever regret it, the life you chose?" Adrian was quiet. She thought maybe she'd crossed a line. Then he spoke. "Sometimes, late at night, when it's just me and the choices I've made. But regret doesn't change anything, so I don't dwell." "What would you do if you could start over?" "I don't know, maybe something normal. A job where people don't try to kill me. You'd be bored. Probably. So you wouldn't actually change anything." He thought about it. "No, I guess not. Because if I changed anything, I wouldn't have ended up here. With you." Lena's heart squeezed. "That's the cheesiest thing you've ever said." "Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation." She laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in days, the tension in her chest eased. When they got back to the penthouse, Lena collapsed on the couch. Adrian disappeared into the kitchen, came back with water and takeout menus. "Eat something," he said. "Too tired." "Lena." She groaned but sat up, taking the water. "Fine. Thai. Extra spicy." He ordered, then sat down next to her, pulling her feet into his lap. He started massaging them without being asked. Lena melted. "Oh my God, you're a saint." "Hardly." "No, seriously. This is the best thing that's happened to me all week. Your standards are low. My feet hurt. You're fixing it. That makes you a saint. He snorted but kept working, thumbs digging into her arches. Marcus asked about you today, Adrian said. What'd he ask? If you were sticking around. What'd you tell him? That it wasn't his business. Lena smiled. But what do you think? Am I sticking around? Adrian looked at her, really looked. I hope so. Me too. The food arrived. They ate on the couch, Lena curled against Adrian's side, some action movie playing on the TV that neither of them watched. I have to tell you something, Adrian said. Lena's stomach dropped. Okay. I looked into the people who gave you trouble at school. She sat up. What? Jessica and her friends. I had Marcus pull backgrounds. Why? Because I wanted to know who they were, what they were capable of. Adrian, I didn't do anything, he said quickly. Just looked, but I need you to know that if they come at you again, I'm handling it. You can't just, yes, I can, and I will. She stared at him. Part of her wanted to be angry, to tell him he'd crossed a line, but another part, the part that still remembered the humiliation, the way Jessica's words had gutted her, felt something else entirely. Relief. Safety. Like someone finally had her back. What did you find? She asked. Jessica's family has money. Dad's a lawyer. Mom's on the hospital board. She's used to getting what she wants. That's not surprising. Her boyfriend's in debt, gambling problem. He's been borrowing from people he shouldn't. Lena frowned. Why does that matter? Because people in debt make bad decisions, and bad decisions create opportunities. For what? Adrian's expression went cold. To remind them that there are consequences for hurting people I care about. Her breath caught. You care about me? Obviously. Say it. Lena, say it. He sighed. Looked at her like she was impossible. I care about you. A lot. Happy? Very. Good. Now let me finish. There's more? I'm not going to hurt them, but I'm going to make sure they understand that you're off limits. Permanently. How? Do you really want to know? She thought about it. Did she? No, she admitted, but I need to know you're not going to do something that puts you at risk. I won't, I promise. She believed him. Maybe she shouldn't have, but she did. Okay, she said, but if this blows back, it won't. Adrian, he kissed her, cut off the argument before it could start. When he pulled back, his eyes were serious. I've got this. Trust me. I'm trying. Try harder. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was being reckless and controlling and insane. Instead, she kissed him again. Because he was all those things. But he was also hers. And she was starting to realize that she'd do just about anything to keep him, even if it scared her. The thing about fear was that it didn't announce itself. It crept in quiet, took up residence in the spaces between heartbeats, and waited. Lena felt it 3 weeks into her clinical rotation. She was finishing a late shift in the ICU when her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You think you're special now? Walking around with your criminal boyfriend like you're untouchable? You're still just a maid playing dress-up. Her stomach dropped. She stared at the screen, reading it again. Then again. The number was blocked. No way to trace it. But she didn't need to. She knew exactly who'd sent it. Jessica. Lena deleted the message, hands shaking, and shoved her phone in her bag. She clocked out, walked to the parking lot where Adrian was waiting, and climbed into the car without saying a word. Long shift? He asked. Yeah. He glanced at her. You okay? Fine. Adrian didn't push. He just drove. But Lena could feel him watching her out of the corner of his eye, reading the tension in her shoulders, the way she kept her hands knotted in her lap. When they got back to the penthouse, she headed straight for the bedroom. Adrian followed. What happened? He asked. Nothing. Lena. I said nothing. He caught her wrist, gentle but firm. Don't lie to me. We had a deal. She pulled away, pacing. I got a text. From Jessica, I think. Calling me a maid, saying I'm playing dress-up. Threatening me, basically. Adrian went very still. Show me. I deleted it. Why? Because I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she got to me. Did she? Lena stopped pacing, looked at him. Yeah, she did. Adrian's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, typed something fast. What are you doing? Lena asked. Handling it. Adrian, no. I told you what would happen if they came at you again. A text isn't... It's harassment. And I don't tolerate people harassing what's mine. I'm not yours to protect like some damsel. Yes, you are. He looked up from his phone, eyes hard. You are mine, and I protect what's mine. That's not negotiable. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was being overbearing and possessive and ridiculous. But the truth was, part of her liked it. Liked knowing someone would go to war for her. Liked feeling protected for the first time in her life. What are you going to do? She asked quietly. Make sure she understands that you're off limits. How? Do you want details or do you want plausible deniability? Lena swallowed. The second one. Smart. He finished typing, pocketed his phone, and crossed the room to her. He cupped her face, tilting it up so she had to meet his eyes. I need you to trust me, he said. Can you do that? I'm trying. Try harder. You keep saying that. Because you keep hesitating. She leaned into his touch. I'm scared. Of me? Of what you're capable of. Of what that means for me. Adrian's thumb brushed her cheekbone. I would never hurt you. I know. But you'd hurt other people for me, and I don't know how to feel about that. Feel however you need to, but don't ask me to stop, because I won't. The certainty in his voice should have terrified her. It didn't. She kissed him instead. Hard, desperate, like she was trying to erase the fear with something tangible. Adrian kissed her back just as hard, hands sliding into her hair, pulling her closer. They didn't talk about Jessica again that night, but Lena knew it wasn't over. 2 days later, Jessica stopped showing up to class. Lena noticed immediately. The empty seat where Jessica usually held court, surrounded by her usual crew. The absence of her sharp voice cutting through lectures. The way her friends kept glancing at the door like they expected her to walk in any second. She didn't. By the end of the week, rumors started circulating. Jessica had dropped out. Jessica was sick. Jessica's family was in trouble. Lena didn't ask Adrian about it, didn't want to know, but she felt the weight of it anyway. On Friday, Dr. Hammond pulled her aside after a simulation lab. Ms. Brooks, do you have a moment? Lena's pulse spiked. Of course. They stepped into an empty classroom. Dr. Hammond closed the door, expression serious. I wanted to check in with you, he said. I've noticed some tension in your cohort, particularly around you. Lena's throat went dry. I don't know what you mean. Jessica Morrison withdrew from the program last week. Her friends have been asking questions. Your name came up. I didn't do anything. I didn't say you did, but I'm concerned about the dynamics. If there's something going on that's affecting your ability to focus on your education, there isn't, Lena said quickly. Jessica and I had some personal conflicts, but I'm here to learn. That's all I care about. Dr. Hammond studied her. Are you sure you're okay, Ms. Brooks? I'm fine. Really? He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. All right. But if you need support, my door is always open. Thank you. She left before he could ask more questions. That night, she confronted Adrian. What did you do to Jessica? She asked the second she walked into the penthouse. Adrian looked up from his laptop. Hello to you too. Adrian, what did you do? He closed the laptop, leaned back in his chair. I made some calls, had a conversation with her father, explained that his daughter's behavior was unacceptable and that if it continued, certain financial irregularities in his law practice might come to light. Lena's stomach twisted. You blackmailed him? I applied pressure. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Blackmail implies I wanted something from him. I didn't. I just wanted him to understand that his daughter needed to stay away from you. So you threatened to ruin his career. I threatened to expose the fact that he's been embezzling from client trust accounts for the last 3 years. That's not a threat. That's a promise backed by evidence. Lena sank onto the couch. She dropped out of school. Her choice. Because you scared her father into making her. No. Because her father realized that protecting his career was more important than indulging his daughter's bullying habit. I just gave him the incentive to make that choice. Adrian, she sent you threatening messages, Lena. She made you cry in my kitchen. She spent months making you feel like you didn't belong. What did you expect me to do? Ask her nicely to stop? I expected you to let me handle it. You weren't handling it. You were enduring it. There's a difference. Lena pressed her hands to her face. I can't have people dropping out of my program because of me. Then they shouldn't harass you. That's not how this works. It is now. She looked up at him. He was watching her with that same controlled intensity. No apology, no regret. You don't get it, she said quietly. I have to live in that world, with those people. And now they're all looking at me like I'm some kind of threat. Good. Let them. You're impossible. So you keep saying. She wanted to be angry, wanted to tell him he'd crossed a line. But the truth was, Jessica was gone. The messages had stopped. And for the first time since starting the program, Lena could walk into class without feeling like she had to brace for impact. Thank you, she said finally. Adrian blinked. What? I said thank you. I'm still mad at you, but thank you. He stood, crossed to the couch, and pulled her into his arms. You're welcome. Don't do it again. I'm not promising that. Adrian, if someone comes at you, I'm handling it. That's the deal. You can be mad about it afterward, but it's happening. She sighed into his chest. You're exhausting. So are you. They stood like that for a long moment. Then Lena pulled back, looking up at him. I need you to understand something, she said. Okay. I'm not fragile. I've survived a lot worse than Jessica Morrison. I don't need you to fight all my battles. I know you don't need me to. I want to. There's a difference. Why? Because you matter to me. And people who matter to me don't get hurt. Not if I can stop it. Her throat tightened. What if I can't give you what you want? What do you think I want? I don't know. Compliance? Gratitude? Some version of me that's easier to manage? Adrian's expression softened. Barely. I don't want easy, Lena. I want you. Stubborn, argumentative, impossible you. If I wanted easy, I'd have picked someone else. You make it sound like you chose me. I did. When? The night I found you crying in my kitchen. I looked at you and something clicked. I didn't plan it, didn't want it, but it happened anyway. Lena's heart hammered. That's terrifying. For you or for me? Both. He smiled, actually smiled. Yeah, it is. She kissed him then, soft, slow, like she was trying to memorize the moment. When she pulled back, his eyes were dark, wanting. Stay tonight, he said. I was planning on it. Good. They ended up in his bed again. And this time, when Lena fell asleep in his arms, she didn't dream about drowning. She dreamed about flying. The weeks blurred together, clinical rotations, late-night study sessions. Adrian picking her up after every shift, driving her home, except home wasn't her studio apartment anymore. It was the penthouse. Her clothes were in his closet. Her textbooks were on his coffee table. Her toothbrush was in his bathroom. She hadn't planned it. It had just happened. One night turned into two. Two turned into a week. A week turned into a month. And now, 2 months into their relationship, Lena couldn't remember what her life had looked like before Adrian Vale walked into it. It should have scared her. It didn't. What scared her was the phone call that came on a Tuesday night. She was curled up on the couch studying when Adrian's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, frowned, and stepped into the other room to answer. Lena tried not to eavesdrop. Failed. When? Adrian's voice was sharp, controlled. How bad? A pause. I'll handle it. Keep him contained until I get there. Another pause. I don't care what he wants. He crossed a line. Make that clear. He hung up, came back into the living room. His face was blank, but Lena could see the tension in his shoulders. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing you need to worry about. Adrian, I have to go out for a few hours. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Her pulse spiked. What's happening? Business. I'll explain later. That's not good enough. He stopped, turned to face her fully. Someone broke an agreement. I need to remind them why that was a bad idea. Is it dangerous? Not for me. That's not reassuring. It's the truth. She stood, crossing to him. I don't like this. I know, but it's my job and I need to handle it. When will you be back? A few hours, maybe less. Adrian? He kissed her, quick, hard. I'll be fine, I promise. Then he was gone. Lena stood in the empty penthouse, heart racing, trying not to spiral. She locked the door, paced, tried to study, couldn't focus. An hour passed, then 2. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. AV, still handling things. Might be late. Don't wait up. She responded immediately. Lena, are you okay? AV, I'm fine, go to bed. Lena, not until you're home. AV, stubborn. Lena, you like it? AV, I do. The conversation ended. Lena tried to sleep, failed. She was still awake when Adrian finally came home at 4 a.m. He looked tired, blood stains on his shirt cuff, knuckles bruised. Lena was off the couch before he could say anything. What happened? She demanded. It's handled. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. Adrian. Lena. He cupped her face, eyes serious. I'm okay. The situation is resolved. That's all that matters. You're bleeding. It's not mine. Her stomach turned. Whose is it? Someone who won't be a problem anymore. She wanted to ask more questions, wanted to know what he'd done, who he'd hurt, why. But looking at him, exhausted, bruised, still standing because he refused to show weakness, she couldn't. Let me see your hands, she said instead. He hesitated, then held them out. His knuckles were split, swollen. She led him to the bathroom, ran warm water and cleaned the cuts carefully. He didn't flinch, didn't make a sound. You should ice these, she said. I'm fine. You're hurt. I've been worse. She looked up at him. That doesn't make this okay. I know. She finished cleaning his hands, wrapped them in gauze, and stepped back. Thank you, Adrian said quietly. Don't thank me. Just stop getting hurt. I'll try. Not good enough. He almost smiled. You're bossy when you're scared. I'm not scared. Liar. She shoved his chest lightly. Shut up. He caught her wrist, pulled her close. I'm sorry. For what? For scaring you. For coming home like this. For making you wait. You didn't make me wait. I chose to. Still. She leaned into him, breathing in his scent, expensive cologne mixed with something darker. Sweat. Blood. The remnants of violence she didn't want to name. Just come home safe next time, she whispered. That's all I ask. I will. Promise? I promise. They stood like that until the sun started rising. Then Adrian led her to bed, and they slept tangled together, her head on his chest, his arms wrapped around her like he was afraid she'd disappear. When Lena woke up hours later, Adrian was gone. A note on the pillow. Had to handle follow-up. Back tonight. Sleep in. You earned it. A V. She should have been upset. Should have demanded answers. Instead, she just rolled over and went back to sleep. Because this was her life now. Adrian's world. And she was choosing to stay in it. Even when it scared her. Especially when it scared her. The final month of clinicals hit like a freight train. Lena rotated through the ER, and it was chaos. Overdoses, car accidents, heart attacks, stabbings, shootings. Things she'd only read about in textbooks became her daily reality. She saw people die. Watched families fall apart. Held hands with strangers while they took their last breaths. And through it all, Adrian was there, waiting in the parking lot, listening when she needed to talk, holding her when words weren't enough. I don't know how you do it, she said one night, curled against him on the couch. See terrible things and just keep going. You compartmentalize, Adrian said. You put the bad stuff in a box, lock it away, and focus on what you can control. Doesn't that eat at you? Sometimes. But the alternative is letting it destroy you, and I refuse to give it that power. She thought about the people she'd lost that week, the man who'd coded in front of her, The woman who'd bled out before they could get her to surgery. The kid who'd overdosed and never woke up. "I don't know if I can do that," she admitted. "You can. You're stronger than you think." "How do you know?" "Because you're still here, still fighting. That takes strength most people don't have." She wanted to believe him. Some days she did. Other days she wasn't sure. Graduation was 3 weeks away when Lena got the call. She'd passed her final exams, top of her class. Her clinical evaluations were perfect. She was going to be a nurse. She stood in the hospital parking lot staring at her phone, reading the email over and over, waiting for it to feel real. It didn't. Not until Adrian pulled up, saw her face, and asked what happened. "I did it," she whispered. "I actually did it." He smiled. Full. Genuine. The kind of smile that transformed his entire face. "I'm proud of you," he said. And Lena burst into tears. Happy tears, relieved tears, the kind of tears that came from carrying a weight for so long you forgot what it felt like to set it down. Adrian held her in the parking lot while she cried. Didn't say anything, just held her. When she finally pulled herself together, he wiped her face with his sleeve and kissed her forehead. "Let's go celebrate," he said. "How?" "However you want." She thought about it. "Can we just go home?" "Yeah, we can do that." So they did. And that night, curled up in Adrian's bed with takeout and a stupid movie playing in the background, Lena realized something. She was happy. Actually, genuinely happy, for the first time in years. And it terrified her, because happiness was fragile. And she'd learned the hard way that anything fragile could break. But looking at Adrian, this dangerous, complicated, impossible man who'd chosen her for reasons she still didn't fully understand, she decided to risk it anyway. "I love you," she said. The words hung in the air. Adrian went very still. "What?" "I love you." "I didn't plan to. I didn't want to, but I do." He stared at her like she'd spoken another language. "You don't have to say it back," she added quickly. "I just needed you to know." Adrian set down his food, turned to face her fully. His expression was unreadable. "You're sure?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm sure. Even knowing what I am, what I do? Especially knowing that." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he cupped her face, tilting it up so she had to meet his eyes. "I love you too," he said quietly. "I don't know when it happened, but it did. And now I can't imagine my life without you in it." Lena's breath caught. "Really?" "Really." She kissed him, slow, deep, pouring everything she couldn't say into the contact. When they finally broke apart, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "You're mine now," he said. "Completely. You understand that?" "Yeah, I understand." "And you're okay with it?" "More than okay." He smiled, and Lena knew, without a doubt, that she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross. But she didn't care. Because for the first time in her life, she'd found someone who saw her, all of her. The scared parts, the broken parts, the parts she'd spent years trying to hide. And he loved her anyway. That was worth the risk, that was worth everything. The week before graduation, everything fell apart. Lena was at the penthouse studying when Adrian's phone rang. She'd learned to recognize the different tones of his business calls. This one was bad. She could tell by the way his entire body went rigid, the way his jaw clenched before he even answered. "When?" he said into the phone. A pause. His eyes went cold. "How many?" Another pause, longer this time. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Lock it down. No one in or out until I arrive." He hung up and was halfway to the door before Lena could even stand. "What's happening?" she asked. "I have to go." "Adrian." "Not now, Lena." The sharpness in his voice stopped her cold. She watched him grab his jacket, check something in the inside pocket, a gun, she realized with a sickening lurch, and head for the door. "When will you be back?" she called after him. He paused, looked back at her. For a split second, his expression softened. "I don't know. Stay here. Don't leave. I mean it." Then he was gone. Lena stood in the empty penthouse, heart hammering, every instinct screaming that something was very, very wrong. Hours passed. Her phone stayed silent. She tried calling him, straight to voicemail. She tried texting. No response. By midnight, she was pacing. By 2 a.m., she was terrified. By 4 a.m., she heard the key in the lock. Adrian walked in looking like he'd gone to war. Blood on his shirt, a cut above his eyebrow, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. "Oh my God," Lena breathed, rushing to him. "What happened?" "I'm fine." "You're bleeding. It's not mine." She grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. "What happened?" Adrian closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were empty, flat. "Someone tried to move in on my territory. Brought guns to a meeting that was supposed to be neutral ground. 3 of my people got hurt. 2 of theirs are dead." Lena's stomach dropped. "You killed them?" "No, but I gave the order." The words hung between them, cold, final. She should have been horrified, should have pulled away. Instead, she just nodded. "Are your people okay?" Adrian blinked, like he'd expected a different reaction. "They'll live. One's in surgery, the other 2 are stable." "Good. That's all you have to say?" "What do you want me to say? That I'm shocked? I knew what you were when I said I loved you. I'm not going to pretend otherwise now." Something flickered in his expression. Relief, maybe, or surprise. "I need to shower," he said quietly. "Okay, I'll make coffee." He started toward the bathroom, then stopped, turned back. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For not running. I told you, I'm not most people." He almost smiled, then disappeared into the bathroom. Lena made coffee with shaking hands. When Adrian emerged 20 minutes later, clean but still exhausted, she handed him a mug and they sat together on the couch in silence. "This is my life," Adrian said finally. "Violence, retaliation, constant maneuvering to stay on top. It doesn't stop. It doesn't get easier, and people close to me become targets." "Are you trying to scare me?" "I'm trying to be honest." "Then be honest. Do you want me to leave?" "No?" "Then I'm not going anywhere." He looked at her for a long moment. "You should." "But you don't want me to." "No, I don't." "Then stop trying to push me away." Adrian set down his coffee, scrubbed a hand over his face. "If something happened to you because of me, it won't. You don't know that. Neither do you. But I'm choosing to stay anyway. That's my decision, not yours." He stared at her like he was trying to memorize her face. Then he pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight it almost hurt. "I love you," he said into her hair. "I need you to know that, whatever happens." "I know, I love you too." They stayed like that until the sun came up. And when Adrian finally fell asleep, Lena sat watching him, wondering when she'd become the kind of person who could sit calmly next to a man who'd just ordered people killed. The answer was simple. She'd become that person the moment she'd chosen him. And she didn't regret it. Not yet, anyway. The next few days were tense. Adrian was gone more than he was home. Lena went to her last few clinical shifts, finished her final paperwork, and tried not to think about the fact that her boyfriend was currently handling a gang war. Her phone rang on Thursday. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she did. "Ms. Brooks?" A man's voice. Unfamiliar. "My name is Detective Morrison. I'd like to ask you a few questions." Her blood went cold. "About what?" "About your relationship with Adrian Vale." She hung up. Her hands were shaking. She called Adrian immediately. "A detective just called me," she said the second he answered. "Morrison. He wanted to ask about you." Adrian swore. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. I hung up." "Good. Don't answer if he calls again. Don't talk to anyone asking about me. Not cops, not reporters, not random people on the street. You understand?" "Yes." "I'm serious, Lena. They're fishing, trying to build a case. If they think you know something, I won't talk to them. I promise." He was quiet for a moment. "I'm coming home early. We need to discuss something." "What?" "Not over the phone. I'll be there in an hour." He hung up. Lena sat on the couch, heart racing, waiting. When Adrian walked in 90 minutes later, he looked grim. "Sit down," he said. "I'm already sitting." "Lena, just tell me. Whatever it is, just tell me." Adrian sat down across from her. Not next to her. Across. Like he needed distance for this. "The heat's going to get worse before it gets better," he said. The cops are pushing. They think they can flip someone in my organization, get testimony, build a RICO case. Will they? Not if I handle it right, but it means I need to be more careful, and so do you. What does that mean? It means we need to be smart about how we're seen together. No public appearances, no pictures, no trail that connects you to me in any official capacity. Lena's stomach sank. You want to hide me. I want to protect you. It's the same thing. No, it's not. Hiding you would be pushing you away. Protecting you means keeping you close, but keeping you safe. And what about graduation? Adrian hesitated, just for a second. But Lena saw it. You can't come, she said flatly. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You're not coming to my graduation because it's too public, because someone might see us together and connect the dots. Lena, no. She stood up, pacing. I get it. I do. But this is my graduation, the thing I've worked for my entire adult life. And you're telling me you can't be there. I'm telling you it's not safe. For who? Me or you? Adrian stood too. Both. If the cops are watching me, then they'll see you at a nursing school graduation. So what? So they'll start digging into you, your background, your financials. And when they see that I've been paying your tuition and your rent, they'll assume you're either complicit or a witness they can flip. I'm not going to flip on you. I know that, but they don't. And the second they think you know something, your life becomes hell. Questions, subpoenas, surveillance. Is that what you want? No, but I want you there. I know, and I'm sorry, but I can't risk it. The words hit like a punch. Lena sank back onto the couch, throat tight. This is what our life is going to look like, isn't it? She said quietly. You hiding in the shadows. Me pretending I don't know you. Not forever, just until things cool down. And if they don't cool down? Adrian didn't answer. Lena looked up at him. Be honest. Can you ever actually be with me? Like, really with me? Or am I always going to be your secret? You're not my secret. Then what am I? You're the person I love, the person I want to build a life with. But that life has complications. And right now, those complications mean I can't stand next to you in public without putting you at risk. So I just, what? Graduate alone? Start my nursing career alone? Live my entire life alone while you handle your business in the background? That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Adrian crossed to her, knelt in front of the couch so they were eye level. He took her hands in his. I'm saying I love you, and I need you to trust that I'm doing everything I can to build a life where we don't have to hide. But right now, today, I can't be at your graduation, and I'm sorry for that. Lena's eyes stung. She blinked hard, refusing to cry. I worked so hard for this, she whispered. I wanted you there. I know, and I want to be there, but I can't, not without putting you in danger. So what do I do? You graduate, you celebrate, you start your job, and I'll be waiting for you when you come home. Every single day. That's not enough. I know, but it's what I can give you right now. Lena pulled her hands away. I need to think. Lena, please just give me space to think. Adrian stood, hesitated, then nodded. Okay, take whatever time you need. He left the room. Lena heard the door to his office close. She sat on the couch for a long time, staring at nothing. She'd known this would be hard, had known Adrian's world would touch hers in ways she couldn't predict. But she hadn't expected it to hurt this much. Graduation day arrived gray and cold. Lena put on the cap and gown she'd bought with Adrian's money, looked at herself in the mirror, and tried to feel something other than hollow. She'd decided not to go. What was the point? Adrian wouldn't be there. Her family was non-existent. She had no friends from the program who actually cared, but then her phone buzzed. A text from Rita, her old boss from the diner. Rita. Heard through the grapevine you're graduating today. Proud of you, kid. Go show them what you're made of. Another text. From Paul, the drugstore manager. Paul. Congrats on graduation. You earned it. Don't forget us little people when you're saving lives. Another. From Dr. Hammond. Dr. Hammond. Looking forward to seeing you walk today, Ms. Brooks. You've earned this moment. Celebrate it. Lena stared at her phone, swallowed past the lump in her throat. maybe she'd go after all. The ceremony was at the university auditorium. Lena arrived early, found her seat, and tried not to scan the crowd for a face she knew wouldn't be there. The program started. Names were called. People walked across the stage. Families cheered. When they called Lena Brooks, she stood on shaking legs and walked toward the stage. The applause was polite, scattered. Then from the back of the auditorium, someone started clapping, loud, deliberate. Lena looked up. Adrian stood in the back row, half hidden in shadows, wearing a plain black jacket and baseball cap pulled low. He was clapping like she'd just won an Olympic medal. Her breath caught. He'd come. Despite the risk, despite everything, he'd come. Lena accepted her diploma, shook Dr. Hammond's hand, and walked off the stage. She barely heard the rest of the ceremony, barely registered anything except the fact that Adrian was here. When it ended, she pushed through the crowd looking for him. He was waiting by the exit. When he saw her, he smiled. "You came," she said, breathless. "Of course I came." "But you said—" "I said it was risky. I didn't say I wouldn't do it." He pulled her into his arms, kissing her forehead. "I'm proud of you." Lena's eyes filled. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being here. For risking it. For—" Her voice broke. "For everything." Adrian cupped her face, wiping away tears with his thumbs. "You're mine, Lena. I don't miss the important moments. Not for anything. What if someone saw you? Then they saw me. I don't care. You needed me here, so I'm here." She kissed him. Right there in the auditorium lobby, surrounded by families and classmates. She didn't care who saw, didn't care what anyone thought. When they finally broke apart, Adrian was smiling. "Let's get out of here," he said. "Where are we going?" "You'll see." He drove her to a restaurant she'd never been to, the kind with actual tablecloths and a wine list thicker than her pharmacology textbook. They ate and talked and laughed. And for the first time in weeks, Lena felt light. "I have something for you," Adrian said when dessert arrived. "You've already given me enough. Humor me." He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Not a ring box. Something else. Lena opened it. Inside was a key. "What's this?" she asked. "Key to the penthouse. Your name's on the lease now. It's not just my place anymore, it's ours." Her throat tightened. "Adrian, I know we can't have everything yet. I know there are still risks and complications, but I want you to know that you have a place with me, always, no matter what happens. You're trying to make me cry in public. Is it working?" "Yes." He grinned. "Good." Lena pocketed the key, reached across the table, and squeezed his hand. "I love you. I love you too. More than I thought I could love anyone." They finished dessert, drove home, fell into bed together, and Lena felt, for the first time since the detective's call, like maybe things would be okay. A week later, Adrian came home with news. "The case fell apart," he said. Lena looked up from her laptop where she was filling out job applications. "What?" "The RICO case. The cop's main witness flipped back, refused to testify. Without him, they've got nothing." "How did that happen?" "I'm very persuasive. Adrian, I didn't hurt him. I just reminded him that loyalty pays better than betrayal." Lena closed her laptop. "So it's over?" "For now. They'll try again eventually. They always do. But we bought some time." "How much time?" "Enough." She stood, crossing to him. "Enough for what?" Adrian pulled her into his arms. "Enough to build the life I promised you. Enough to stop hiding. Enough to figure out what comes next." "And what does come next?" "Whatever we want." Lena leaned into him, breathing in his scent. "I got a job offer today." "Yeah?" "St. Catherine's. Full-time RN position in the ER. Starts in 2 weeks." "You taking it?" "I want to, but what?" "But I'm scared. What if I'm not good enough? What if I screw up and someone dies?" Adrian pulled back, looking down at her. "You're going to screw up. Everyone does. But you're also going to save lives. You're going to make a difference, and you're going to be damn good at it." "You really believe that?" "I know it. Just like I knew you'd graduate, just like I knew you'd survive your clinical rotations. You're a fighter, Lena. Always have been." She kissed him, long and slow. Take the job, Adrian said when they broke apart. I'll be here when you get home every night. Promise? Promise. 2 weeks later, Lena started at St. Catherine's. The first week was chaos. The second was worse. But by the third week, she'd found her rhythm. She was good at this, really good. And every night, when her shift ended and exhaustion made her bones ache, Adrian was waiting in the parking lot. They fell into a routine. Work, home, dinner, sleep, repeat. It wasn't perfect. They fought sometimes, about stupid things, about serious things, about the fact that Adrian still wouldn't tell her everything about his business and Lena still pushed for answers he couldn't give. But they worked through it, because at the end of the day, they chose each other, over and over again. 3 months into her nursing job, Lena came home to find Adrian standing in the middle of the living room with a strange expression on his face. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing's wrong." "Then why do you look like that?" "Like what?" "Nervous." Adrian laughed. "I'm not nervous." "You're a terrible liar." He sighed, scrubbed a hand through his hair. "I've been thinking." "About?" "About us. About the future. About what I want our life to look like." Lena's pulse spiked. "Okay. I want you to move in, officially, not just staying here most nights, actually living here with me." "I already have a key." "I know, but I want it to be real. I want your name on everything. I want this to be our home, not mine, ours." Lena stared at him. "Are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking? You never joke." "Exactly." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Yes. Yes? Yes, I'll move in. Officially, permanently, whatever you want to call it." Adrian's face broke into a smile so wide it transformed him. He crossed the room in 2 strides, picked her up, and spun her around. Lena shrieked, laughing. "Put me down!" "Not yet." "Adrian!" He set her down but kept his arms around her. "I love you. I love you too." "Good. Because you're stuck with me now." "I can live with that." They kissed. And for the first time since Lena had cried in Adrian's kitchen all those months ago, everything felt right. Not perfect, never perfect, but right. Lena officially moved into the penthouse the following week. Her studio apartment had barely anything worth keeping, so the process took less than a day. By the time Adrian got home that night, her clothes were in the closet, her books were on the shelves, and her toothbrush was permanently in the bathroom. "Looks good," Adrian said, surveying the space. "Looks lived in," Lena corrected. "Same thing." She kissed him. "Thank you." "For what?" "For giving me a home. A real one. For the first time in my life." Adrian's expression softened. "You gave me one too. Just took me a while to realize it." They ordered dinner, ate on the couch, talked about their days, normal, domestic, everything Lena had never thought she'd have. That night, lying in bed with Adrian's arm around her waist, Lena thought about everything that had led her here. The crying, the gala, the kiss, the fear, the choices. All of it had led to this moment, this man, this life. And she wouldn't change a single thing. "What are you thinking about?" Adrian asked, voice rough with sleep. "How much my life has changed. Better or worse?" "Better. So much better." He pulled her closer. "Good. Because I'm not letting you go. I don't want you to." "Then we're on the same page." Lena smiled into the darkness. "Yeah, we are." 6 months later, Lena came home to find Adrian pacing in the living room. "What's wrong?" she asked immediately. "Nothing. I need to ask you something." "Okay." Adrian stopped pacing, looked at her. "I'm getting out." Lena blinked. "Out of what?" "The business. All of it. I've been setting things up for months, transferring operations, finding replacements. By the end of the year, I'll be completely legitimate." Her heart stopped. "Are you serious?" "Yeah, I'm serious. I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm tired, and I want a life that doesn't involve looking over my shoulder. I want to wake up next to you without worrying if someone's going to put a bullet in me. I want kids someday, a future. And I can't have that if I'm still running an empire built on violence." Lena couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Say something, Adrian said. I don't know what to say. Say you're okay with it. Say you'll stay with me while I figure out what comes next. Of course I'll stay. Adrian, Her voice broke. I love you. And I want all of that too. Kids, a future, a life where we don't have to hide. He crossed to her, cupped her face. Then marry me. Lena's brain short-circuited. What? Marry me. I don't have a ring yet. I was going to wait, do it properly. But I don't want to wait. I want you for the rest of my life. So marry me. You're insane. Is that a yes? Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Adrian kissed her, hard, desperate, like he'd been waiting his whole life to hear those words. When they finally broke apart, both of them were crying. I love you, Adrian said. I never thought I'd get this. Someone who sees me and doesn't run. Someone who chooses me anyway. I love you too. And I'll keep choosing you every single day. They stood in the middle of the living room, holding each other, crying like idiots. And Lena realized that this moment, this man, this messy, complicated, beautiful life they were building was exactly what she'd been looking for. She just hadn't known it until she found it. 1 year later, Lena stood in a small chapel wearing a simple white dress, holding hands with Adrian Vale, and said, I do. There were no grand gestures, no elaborate ceremony. Just them, a few close friends, and a promise to spend the rest of their lives together. When the officiant pronounced them married, Adrian kissed her like it was the first time and the last time all at once. You're stuck with me now, he whispered against her lips. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. They left the chapel hand in hand, started their lives together officially, moved into a house outside the city with a yard and space to breathe. Adrian started a security consulting firm. Legitimate, legal, boring, he called it. But he was good at it, and he was happy. Lena kept working at St. Catherine's, saved lives, made a difference, came home every night to a man who loved her completely. It wasn't perfect. They still fought, still had bad days, still struggled with the ghosts of who they used to be. But they had each other, and that was enough. 2 years after they married, Lena found out she was pregnant. She told Adrian over breakfast. He dropped his coffee mug. It shattered on the kitchen floor. You're serious? He asked. Yeah, I'm serious. Adrian stood there, frozen, staring at her like she'd just told him the world was ending. Then he smiled, the biggest, most genuine smile she'd ever seen. We're having a baby, he said. We're having a baby. He picked her up, spun her around, laughing like a kid. Lena laughed too, because this moment, this life, this man, was everything she never knew she needed. 9 months later, they brought home a daughter, small, perfect, with Adrian's dark eyes and Lena's stubborn chin. They named her Hope, because that's what she was. Hope for a future neither of them had thought they deserved. And as Lena stood in the nursery, watching Adrian hold their daughter for the first time, she thought about that night all those years ago, the night she'd cried in his kitchen, the night everything changed. She'd been broken then, lost, convinced she'd never be more than a maid playing at dreams she couldn't afford. But Adrian had seen her, really seen her, and he'd chosen to fight for her when she couldn't fight for herself. And now here they were, a family, a life, a future. It hadn't been easy. It hadn't been smooth. But it had been worth it, every single moment. What are you thinking about? Adrian asked, looking up at her. How far we've come. Yeah, we've come pretty far. Do you regret any of it? Not even for a second. Lena crossed the room, leaned down, and kissed him softly. Me neither. They stood together in the soft glow of the nursery light, watching their daughter sleep, and Lena knew without a doubt that she'd found exactly what she'd been searching for her entire life. Not perfection, not ease, not a fairy tale, but something real, something messy, something worth fighting for, love. And that was more than enough.